Okay, I think we should be able to start. I think everything is prepared. I'm just checking for a few things, if everything is working correctly. I had to change a few things before the stream, so I'm just seeing if it's running well. Also, thank you NJ30 for the follow 7 minutes ago, really appreciate it. And yes, everything is working correctly. So, can anyone in chat please just tell me if anyone's watching, if you can see, if you can hear me correctly, or if everything is fine? Yes. Hello, Arsenal. Okay, nice. So, I guess we can start. Hello everybody, my name is Kiklin and welcome to Nitrous Racing League, and today we're going to be racing in Saudi Arabia. This track debuted in 2021, and even in its first year in F1 it's already taken an interest to controversies. The famous Verstappen and Hamilton collision before turn 27. Speaking of the track, it's made out of 27 corners, the most corners out of any F1 circuit on the calendar. It also has 2 slow speed, 4 medium speed and 21 fast speed corners. With my experience on the track, of course. I'm not speaking from Wikipedia, that's just how I feel on the track. It's the fastest racetrack on the calendar, so it's going to be very interesting and very dependent on straight line speed. Sorry. This is a street circuit like Baku and Singapore, and that means that this is a really tight circuit with no room for error, because if you mess up you're basically dead and you need to go into the pit lane. There was actually a bug at the end of the pit lane where if you cross over to the white line only a little bit with your wheel, you would actually get a 10-second time penalty for doing absolutely nothing. But thankfully in the newest patch they have fixed that issue, and let's hope that it doesn't happen again. I will be giving a full track guide once we get on board with someone, so you can see the track in full detail if you haven't already. And even though this track is mainly made out of straights, you still want to have a little bit more downforce than usual. I once had a race in one league, and I ran 1 or 2 wings higher than everyone else, and it really gave me the edge in sector 1. And it didn't really matter in the straights, because you didn't really feel the difference. So I guess a little bit higher downforce setup could give everyone the advantage when they have older tires, so they can maintain their car on track a bit better. And yes, sector 1 is going to be probably the best place where you're gonna gain a lot of time. Thank you for the follow. I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Yeah, J-Syncredible. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Thank you to the follow, and I hope that you enjoyed this. I hope that you enjoyed the stream. Welcome Scout Dan as well. And yes, so we already have a few people out on track. Not a lot of people are on mediums, which is very interesting indeed. A one-stop is definitely possible. You can easily go from mediums to softs or softs to mediums. Just don't get damaged, like I said before. Also, I think there's a bug in the game, which I don't think anyone has discovered. I had a race yesterday in Baku, and a lot of people crashed in the race, and there wasn't any safety car. And I heard that the day before that race, they also had another race in Baku, and it also didn't have any safety cars. But there were a lot of crashes, so there might be a bug which doesn't give safety cars. So drivers will need to be careful if they do want to overfuel or underfuel. But we are on board with Good Roman, the fellow Croat, and going on board with his lap, going into turn 1 right now. It's a very technical chicane to say, and he takes it pretty well. You can definitely be quite much faster. Going to turn 4, you can track extend a little bit more. Turn 5, turn 6, turn 7, turn 8, these are taken flat out or nearly flat out. You go slightly off the throttle, not too much, so you don't lose a lot of time. And if you go full throttle, you have a higher chance of sliding the car off track, which you don't want to do. Going to turn 13, this is a very dangerous corner and difficult corner to master, but it's not that difficult. Going to turn 16, this is another chicane where you really want to hug the wall and want to hug the outside line or the outside curb, but not too much again. You can hug it, or you need to lift off a little bit with your throttle to not slide and crash into the wall. Here you can also track extend turn 24, and going on to the second DRS straight. This is the longest straight on track, I think, but I'm not that sure. Going on to turn 27, and the final detection point is right here. And going on to the final start-finish straight right now, crossing to the finish line. Let's see what time he gets. A 128.8. It is 1/10 slower than his teammate, and Lucas McGinty actually sets a lap time only 40 thousandths of a second slower. So that's actually a really close top 4, as Sapitas also gets a 128.9. So that's very good indeed. Looks like we might get some close races if Eduardo and Alexander don't dominate like they did in France last week. Speaking of Eduardo, looks like he's on a outlap, and Gods actually puts the fastest lap time of a 128.5, 2/10 faster than Nem in the Alfa Romeo. So already the Haas showing a bit more dominance, but for your first flying lap you probably don't want to push too much. Like I said before, you can really track extend on this track in the first chicane and turn 24 where MAM was right now. I'm again sorry if I'm pronouncing some of these names wrong. You can really track extend in, and it doesn't really penalize you for it. You don't really get a invalid. You just need to know how much you can track extend for. And MAM actually sets the fastest lap time of a 128.9, 50 thousandths of a second slower than his teammate. So let's see if he can improve. And I guess we can go on the board with Eduardo, who is actually on mediums, and let's see what time he can get. Like I said in my intro, Sector 1 is very technical, and it's really flowy. Like you cannot really go full throttle, but you also need to go full throttle. But if you go full throttle, you will lose your car and it will just slide into the wall, like Eduardo's car nearly did, but he managed to catch it. Very, very impressive indeed. And you can see that he's just going flat out, and he has so much confidence in his car and his confidence on the grip of the track and on mediums as well. That was very fast. And this part I always mess up, and I don't know how. I think that's probably one of the most difficult parts of the track. I lose so much time there. And this part as well, like I said, you lose your car very easily if you hug too much of the curb, or if you have too much throttle at the exit of the corner, so you seriously have to be careful. So this track is very technical, and we can see Eduardo actually sets a purple sector 2, and let's see what he can do in sector 3. Let's hope that it's not that fast of a lap time. I think the mediums are slower by 1 second, but I'm not really sure. There shouldn't be that big of a difference, like I said, because it's only mainly it's only straight lines, so maybe it's not that much of an impact. And a 128.3, Jesus Christ, that's 10 thousandths of a second slower than his teammate who put that lap time on softs. Like, that is very impressive indeed. And I guess we will need to see what he does on softs, if he wants to do it on softs. I think starting on mediums could be the better strategy, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Let me check if someone has followed, and nope. Oh yeah, and they also added this new thing in the right side, which I haven't seen before, like the badges that show you the connectivity issues, low bandwidth, and host bandwidth. So that's actually quite useful. I really like that. I really like that. Thank you for the follow, Kickerlin. Oh wait, isn't that me? Oh my god. Well, anyways, thank you for the follow, myself. I really appreciate it. On board with HD Storm in the Williams, going out to the start-finish straight right now, finishing his flying lap. And let's see what he does. A 128.7, 5/10 slower than the pole lap time at the moment. And I guess everyone can improve, basically. And it's a way closer grid than in France previously, last week. The grid is separated by only 7/10 from P1 to P9. And I think that this will show for a really interesting race. And I think Nem actually has a little bit of connection issues, as he was lagging a little bit. But I hope that that gets fixed. Thank you for the follow, Team T4S3. I hope that you enjoyed the stream, and I hope that I can entertain you for the entire race. So we have a 18-minute qualifying session. We are already 18 minutes remaining. We also have a 50% race, so we will have 25 laps to get around with. That will basically be like 40 minutes or 15 minutes of watching and commentating. So I hope that I can seriously entertain you for these 40 minutes. And we seriously do have a lot of viewers. Thank you for tuning in, and let's do this. So Alfa Romeo is showing way better pace than last time in France. They were, I think, last, and they drove very dirty, like they were driving all over the track. So I hope that they have learned from their mistakes. I think they said that they didn't, they were just messing around because it was preseason and they didn't know it was streamed, but I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see their true pace on track, as I don't think Nem has any more fresh softs. I think he only has one more set of fresh softs to have to the end of the lap, and he actually puts a purple sector 2, and he might get a little bit of slipstream from the Alpine just ahead of him, who is Ernest, I think. Let's hope that he doesn't have dirty air in the final corner, and looks like everything was taken away smoothly. Here he also might have a little bit of slipstream, which will give him a bit more straight line speed, and he puts the fastest lap time of a 127.971, 3 tenths faster than Alexander. But I think Alexander was just cruising a little bit. I think that's not his full pace, because last time in France he and Eduardo just put an incredibly fast lap time, and we can actually see here that he lost 6 tenths in Sector 2, so this is definitely not his full pace or full potential that he can show on track. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what he can do. And he's actually on the outlap right now, so we can actually keep on board with him to see how much he can improve by. I think a 127.7 is plausible if he can get that sector 2 correctly. It's not that difficult, that part of the track. It's just that turn 14, the left-hander, the hairpin, and the chicane, or the right-hander and left-hander. But he already invalidates. That is very unfortunate indeed. Looks like he will have to wait a little bit more if he will want to set his fastest lap time. But he does have 6 minutes remaining, and we have a spinner. It's Good Roman who spun in sector 1. So let's hope that he can recover. He is currently P8 at the moment, and Jay actually retired from the session. I haven't seen what happened. It might have been a crash, which I have totally missed. But it may have been disqualification, because if you block the pit lane, I say block, if you're going backwards into the pit lane, the game usually disqualifies you, even if you try to spin around. So if you make a mistake, spin around in the white lines or in the end of the pit lane and you try to spin around, it will disqualify you, and it does that sometimes. That's very unfortunate, Jay. I hope that you will have more luck in the race. In my race, 2 weeks prior or 1 week prior, I started from last as well, from P20, and I had a very interesting issue where it dropped me out of the lobby and I couldn't join back for some reason, so I had to start from last position, but I managed to somehow get into P7, so I managed to get a few points overall. So it all came good in the end. Like I said, I was running a little bit more downforce to give me the edge on everyone else in sector 1, and I really gained like 5/10 on everyone in that part, and I didn't lose even that much time in these straights. Like it was you don't really feel the difference, really. If you put a little bit more downforce, it will just help you. But the car did feel a bit oversteery, I'm gonna say that. You really need to be careful with how you control it in this part, especially. Because turn 1 can be a little bit oversteery and demanding. So yeah. Well, I hope you do well, Jay. And just don't crash. Just try to keep it off the walls. And just try and keep it safe and clean until the end of the race, and you should be fine. But we can see Sabotage actually controlling every single wall. He's not touching any of those. 2/10 improvement, purple sector 2. And he track extends. Like I said before, you can really track extend that corner and the first chicane. Or actually not the first chicane, turn 4. You can really track extend those parts and it will not penalize you at all. So if you know how to track extend, you're gonna gain so much time, and if you risk it, you will be benefited and rewarded for that. But a 128.6 for P7, that is quite a good position, but I reckon that these guys are not happy to stay in the bottom parts of the grid. If you don't know the rules of F1, if you qualify below the top 10, you can choose whatever tire you want to pick for the start of your race. So you can pick like fresh softs or mediums or hards. Hards are not recommended. Definitely, I do not recommend. Please do not use those. And if you qualify in the top 10, you have to use the tires which you put the fastest lap on. So, for example, Eduardo put the fastest lap time on mediums, and he's actually going on mediums as well. So he put the fastest lap time from his point on mediums, and he has to start on those. If he put lap time on softs, he has to start on softs, because he's in the top 10. And this is actually very interesting that he's using older mediums to start his final lap. So he will be a little bit slower in the corners, he will not gain that much time. So I don't think that his lap time will be faster than his previous lap time, or maybe like 1/10 improvement that can probably put him in P2. But like I said before, Alexander will probably improve way too much as he lost 6/10 in Sector 2, so let's just keep on board with him, and he will probably be our pole sitter. Hello F1 lover, how are you doing today? I hope that you will enjoy today's race and commentary, and I hope that I can entertain you for these 40 minutes that we're going to be streaming. So yeah, on board with Eduardo going to the chicane turn 16, I think that is, I'm not really sure. And just hugging the walls, getting the most lap time possible. 8/10 improvement, like I said. He will probably be P1, so Eduardo probably doesn't have a chance of snatching P1, but maybe, just maybe, if he manages to somehow get 2/10s, he will be P2, going on board with Alexander. He nearly got caught up in a traffic with the AlphaTauri. Thankfully he managed to get away in time, and a 127.4 from Alexander. He puts P1 in today's race. So he will start in pole position, and Nem will follow him in the front row of the grid. But the qualifying session is still not over. We still have a lot of drivers needing to finish their laps, and Eduardo actually pits, so he doesn't want to improve on that lap time. He is happy to start P3. The only problem is McGinty, Gods, or someone else can still improve. Gods, let's see, finishing out Sector 2. Let's see how much he can improve, and maybe he can snatch a third position from Eduardo. He actually has 7/10 improvement, so he's really pushing. So let's see what this time will be. Opening the DRS, using all of the ERS possible, hugging the wall. You can really hug the wall. You gain so much time. You gain like 1/10 if you are close to the wall. Oh, and he loses the car, just like Max Verstappen in real life. Oh, that's very, very, very unfortunate. It looks like he will have to settle with 5th place, which is still not bad. That is the 3rd row of the grid. Still not bad at all, but that could have been a lap time for P3. But I guess there is nothing to be done about it. And I think that's everyone actually. I think everyone has set their lap time. We are just waiting for them to enter into the pit lane and for their teams to put them in their pit boxes. And yeah, this was the qualifying session. So Alexander is on pole position. 5/10 faster than Nem just behind him, finishing out the front row, a 127.971. So they will have to start on softs. Eduardo starting the 2nd row of the grid, a 128.3 on mediums, so he will have the tire advantage and the strategy advantage in the race. So the Mercedes boys looking very well as usual, just like last time in France. And McGinty finishes the 2nd row of the grid. Next we have Gods in the Haas, 128.5, and Patrick in the Red Bull, who finishes the 3rd row of the grid. Then we have a fellow Croat, as I'm from Croatia as well, in the Alfa Romeo P7, Super Zaken in P8. Oh, what? Are you serious? Nice. I thought I still had enough time. Come on. Come on. That's stupid. That is true. Pole is not everything. You still need to keep it on track and keep it clean. Like I said before, you have no room for error. If you do make an error, you are dead. You are going to die, like Gods did in the final corner. Like you said, he did a max. So yeah, you really need to be careful at every part of the track. There are 27 corners. It's a really mentally specific track. You really have to just focus all the time to not hit the wall and to push it to the limits, but to the limits only. Do not push over the limits because you will just die and crash. So we have the formation lap for today's race, and I can actually finish the starting grid. So Super Taken in the Ferrari goes P8, Sabotage P9, and HD Storm finishes the 10th position. He will have to start on those softs that he put the fastest lap on. And only MIM and Ernest in P11 and 12 have put mediums on their car. So that was very interesting indeed. I wonder why Diego's and Jay haven't set mediums. Speaking of both of them, they have been disqualified from the formation lap, probably because of contact before the first corner. So that is quite unfortunate indeed. Starting on the back row of the grid and having cold tires is not really what you want to do. Now, the drivers will need to be careful when they start the race, when they go into the first chicane, turns 1, 2 and 3. A lot of incidents happen there in the first laps of the race, so please just keep it safely, do not make any contact. If you can, brake a little bit earlier just to be a little bit safer and you should be fine. Because damage is set on standard, I think, I'm not really sure. So please just keep it clean and everything should be fine. But yeah, we are already halfway on the track. Everyone's heating their tires up and we will begin the race shortly. And while that is happening, let me just check a few things. Thank you, Claudio, for the follow. I hope that you enjoyed the stream and the race, and I hope that I can entertain you for these 25 laps. And there we go. We are on the start finish straight. I think the AI has already taken over their cars. They're just having to get prepared to the grid. And while we are waiting for that, let's actually see some things which I actually am not sure about. I want to see if there is going to be rain. I mean, we are in a desert, kinda in a desert, so rain is not really not really a high chance of rain, but maybe, I mean, you know. But anyways, everyone is on the grid, and there we go. We have 3, 4 and 5 red lights, and it's a long hold up as always, and we are underway for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and looks like Nem actually got a really good start, but he stays behind of Alexander. McGinty actually passes Eduardo, looks like he got a pretty bad start. And looks like everything was taken away safely. Speaking of which, Jay actually crashed in the race. He might have damage, but let's hope that he does not. But yeah, everything is taking it a bit safely, like I said. Eduardo losing a little bit of time to McGinty just in front of him, but that's probably because of his tires. He does have older tires and he will be slower. And looks like Jay is not having a really good race so far, as he is just spinning all over the place. McGinty nearly lost the car, losing the back end. Thankfully he managed to catch it, and that was taken pretty well. Alexander already 1 second ahead, looks like he's already clear of the DRS. The DRS will be opened on the 3rd lap, so none of these drivers have DRS yet, but Patrick is actually going on the inside of Eduardo, and they make contact, and Patrick actually spins from the race, and Eduardo as well. I don't think they have damage, and we actually have a lot of crashes happening. Ernest as well, being caught off guard with that crash just in front of him, and he wanted to avoid it, so he had to track extend a little bit. But as I'm seeing here, no damage to both Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo, so that is very good indeed. looks like no pit stops will be made in the race so far. We have Emium and Sabotage actually fighting for P7 in today's race. That is 6 points to their name. But Emium is at a very big disadvantage, 20% less ERS and going very wide off track and having a really bad line into these parts of the track extending a lot. And Sabotage will want to get ahead of him very fast because he does not want to lose a lot of time to Emium as he has lower tires. So at the next possible straight line, Sabotage will probably take that advantage and just overtake him. But Eduardo behind them is catching them as well, so maybe Eduardo will... Oh, we actually have damage from Sabotage! Or wait, was that Emium? Emium has front wing damage. That is quite unfortunate. He probably had a lot of understeer after that chicane. So he will have to go into the pit lane, our first pit stopper. And Eduardo actually used a lot of his ERS already, and you can see that the game is predicting a one-stop strategy for both compounds. So if you start on softs, you can go to mediums until the end of the race, and if you start on mediums, if you start on softs, you can go to mediums, and if you start on mediums, you can go to softs. So a one-stop is definitely possible. And like I said before, I think there is a glitch in the game where if there's a bunch of crashes, there is not gonna be a safety car, even if you have it at the highest. But I really do not know. That's just what I experienced yesterday. Like we had 10 retirements and no safety car at all when it was set on standard. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. And Eduardo just keeping behind of Sabotage. Looks like they have a little bit of equal times and equal space, but Sabotage is really struggling in the corners, and Eduardo actually has DRS. DRS is enabled this lap as it is lap 3, and Eduardo actually loses the car a little bit. The backhand just slid away from his hands and he had to catch it. Meanwhile, in front of them, we have two people going side by side, Good Roman and HD Storm, but looks like Good Roman just backed out of it. And HD Storm will have a little bit of more breathing space, but Good Roman will have DRS for this next straight, so maybe he can do something there, as well as Eduardo. Hello, BCR Esports. I hope that you enjoyed today's race, and I hope that I can keep you entertained. Looks like Eduardo is actually going on the outside line, taking a really wide line, which he really do not need to do. But he does have DRS for this start-finish straight. They are on equal ERS, and looks like Sabotage is not really defending at all. He just let Eduardo through. He knows that he's fastest, so he doesn't really have to fight it. We have a battle for the podium. McGinty and Nem, the Alfa Romeo and McLaren driver, taking a really good battle into Sector 1 right here, right on their gearbox. And looks like McGinty actually had to corner cut the entire track. Looks like he probably lost the car a little bit. Good Roman already a 3-second time penalty. Very unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo driver. I hope that he can improve. And Diegos also gets a penalty. And meanwhile, Alexander is just cruising away. He already is 2.4 seconds away from Nem in the second Alfa Romeo. So he just has to keep it clean if he wants to win today's race, and after the box as well. Lucas McGinty has DRS. He's not catching that fast as he's not using any of his DRS. Maybe he's trying to save it for the start-finish straight, and he is. And we might see an overtake happening into turn 1, just like happened with Eduardo and Sapitas, and Nem is not defending at all. And that was a pretty easy overtake for Lucas McGinty for P2 at the moment. We are already on lap 5, and Jay is definitely not having the greatest of races as he is just spinning all over the place. Very unfortunate for the Ferrari driver. looks like not a lot of practice has went into today's race, or maybe it's just tiredness and he cannot focus at all on the race, which is very unfortunate indeed. And yes, Nem and McGinty are battling once again, but while that is happening, we are going to just check a few things. Thank you, Jacinto Pinto, for the follow, and thank you, Lockerzin, for the follow. I hope that you enjoyed the race and the stream, and thank you for the follow again. Looks like Nem and McGinty are very close once again. We also have a pretty good battle behind with Patrick and Eduardo, but this will happen first, I think. Nem actually has a lot of VRS, 30% more than McGinty right in front of him, and we might see another overtake into turn 1, and he's just using all of his ERS. There we go. And Alexander actually set the fastest lap time of the session, 131.155. That is very, very good indeed. And we see McGinty defending the inside line, and looks like Nem will have to be patient a little bit more as he wasn't able to overtake him into turn 1. While that is happening, we have these guys battling for P5, HD Storm and Superzaken and Good Roman. A three-way battle, and Jay actually retires from the session. That is very, very unfortunate indeed. And we actually have a safety car! So the glitch is not imminent. So I really don't know why it didn't bring the safety car yesterday for my race then. Because we had way major crashes than this, and it didn't even bring a safety car. Thank you, Elbrenner, for the follow. I hope that you enjoy today's commentary and the race. So we already have our first retirement of the session. Thank you, Hoao CF10, for the follow. And looks like that lead from Alexander, that 5-second lead, will just not be will go in vain. But this will actually be a free pit stop for the soft runners. You can actually risk it. You can go into the pit lane right now, like Alexander is doing. You can easily pit for mediums and go until the end of the race. I think I did, thank you, but if I didn't, thank you, Lockerzin, for the follow. And we do see a lot of people going into the pit lane. Alexander risking it on mediums, and McGinty actually going for hards. So he just wants to play it safe and make sure that he goes until the end of the race. So Patrick Sogard does that as well in the Red Bull. And we see here the beautiful Aston Martin safety car. I really love that car. It's very, very nice indeed, and it's a really good change from the Mercedes. So, because I don't really have a lot to talk about in the safety car period, let's just check a little bit of these things. Good Roman and Diego's are the only one with penalties at the moment. Of course, that can all change. They both have 3-second time penalties, which is quite unfortunate indeed. Let's hope that they can improve. Eduardo, the other Mercedes, is actually lost at the moment in today's race. He pits for mediums. He will actually he will have to go once more into the pit lane, because I think that's his second medium. Oh, he actually pitted for hards as well, and then went to mediums, so he can definitely go until the end of the race. And we know that he is fast, so if he can just overtake everyone cleanly, maybe he can share a podium with Alexander just like last time. If you didn't watch the preseason last Thursday, Eduardo actually won the race, if I remember correctly. It was either Eduardo or Alexander, but it was a 1-2 Mercedes. So they looks like they are just continuing that dominance in Saudi Arabia as well. My name is Kickerlin. So yeah, that's my name. Of course, I'm not gonna say my real name. That's just my username, which I use literally everywhere. So Kickerlin is my name. You spell it with a Kikrlin. That's how you spell it. Jesus Christ, we have 20 viewers. When did this happen? Thank you everybody for tuning in for today's race. I hope that you are enjoying it so far. We are currently having safety car problems. We already have our first retirement of the session. Unfortunate for Jay, our first retirement. And yeah, I really do hope that we do not have any more safety cars, but on street tracks, I think it's just inevitable to have a lot of safety cars. Singapore, Baku, Monaco, all of these tracks are cursed with safety cars, as people want to drive to the limits all the time. So they often make a lot of mistakes, which often lead to crashes and DNFs. And looks like McGinty is actually really close to Nem. Let's hope that he does not get a penalty, or that Nem doesn't get a penalty. If you didn't know, under the safety car, if you touch someone, you will get a 5-second time penalty, so do not do it, please. You do not want to have 5 seconds added to your name. You can serve those 5 seconds in the pit lane, but if you do not serve them, they will be added at the end of the race. And looks like everyone has made a 1-stop, but Eduardo a 2-stop at the moment, but he can still go until the end of the race because he used 2 compounds. You have to use 2 compounds, 2 different compounds in the race to not be disqualified at the end. So you really have to think about which tires you want to have first, which you want to have at the end. So you get the advantage to your opponents. And we might see the safety car coming into the pit lane at the end of this lap, but I am not seeing the message. So I guess we will have to wait 1 more lap of the safety car. Or not. There we go. Safety car is in this lap, and the most positions lost is from Eduardo, who started P3 and dropped down to P13. And the most positions gained is by Supertekken in the Ferrari. And we already have Alexander pulling away, who has actually a 3-second time penalty. Or what happened actually? He has a 5-second time penalty, and we actually have Lucas McGinty and Nem actually trying to make an overtake into the first chicane, but that didn't really work out for McGinty. He stays P3 just behind Nem. We have a few spins in the back. It's Sabotage, very unfortunate indeed, and Eduardo already has improved 5 positions. He's already in P8, now P7. He's just overtaking everyone, which is just good for him, because if he can clear this traffic as soon as possible, he will have a very easy time. And we can see HD Storm actually going around the inside of HD Storm into turn 14, and he manages to get it, having a way better line and exit than the Alfa Romeo driver. Very impressive indeed, just capitalizing on other people's mistakes. So everything is going away quite well. Alexander is not pulling away that much, so this might be a 3-way battle for P1 at the moment. Let's hope that these people do not crash like Eduardo and Patrick did in the first couple of laps. And let's just hope that these drivers can keep it cleanly. Looks like nothing will happen into the final corner just yet. We do have nearly a contact with Nem and McGinty. McGinty was literally on the gearbox of Nem, thankfully no contact. And looks like Nem doesn't want to overtake Alexander. Looks like he will just stay behind him and try to stay with him, and maybe he can guide them to pull away from McGinty, as there was contact with Alexander and Nem, but thankfully that didn't probably give damage. McGinty losing the car all over the place. Let's hope that he does not crash. Oh, and Alexander actually bugged! He is second. And looks like McGinty has a really good line on Alexander, but Alexander is also using a little bit of ERS. McGinty tries to go around the inside. And thankfully no contact, but HD Storm and Superzak and HD Storm going for another move. Name actually crashed and retires from today's race. Another retirement and another safety car. And HD Storm was trying to go for a move that he did on Good Roman and nearly got away with it, but Super Zaken got a really good exit and just pulled away. And really unfortunate for Nem, who started P2 in today's race and he had a really good chance for points. Very unfortunate. But the safety car is actually good for the hard runners. Because they can actually pit for mediums and go until the end of the race, and MIM can actually do it as well. So this is practically good for them, but not good for them as he retires from this race. Oh, it's pronounced Nemo. Oh, I said Nem all the time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And looks like Alexander is actually going into the pit lane, serving his 5-second time penalty, and Eduardo double stacks. Looks like this is a Mercedes double stack. This is not really good for them. Oh, this is a really long pit stop for Alexander, and looks like he actually got damage. I do not know where, but this is really bad for the Mercedes boys, as they are P8 and P9 respectively. Eduardo choosing to risk it, going on softs, so that's very interesting. Thank you, Gabriel Slavria, for the follow. I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, but I hope that you enjoy today's commentary and the race. That is terrible for Merc, but we saw at the end of the first safety car that Eduardo just overtook 5 cars in less than 10 seconds. So I think both Mercedes are capable of overtaking quite cleanly. It's just, are other people as clean as them, and will they give them the opportunity to overtake? That is the main question. But one thing is for certain, Lucas McGinty is leading the race so far. No penalties, but he is on hard tires, which is a massive disadvantage for him. If I was Lucas, I would probably pit for mediums or maybe softs like Eduardo and go until the end of the race, because hards on a street track, trust me, does not work together. Hards are not made for a street track. Definitely. So if I was Lucas, you would lose a lot of positions, which on a street circuit, that's the main thing you want to have, because it's really difficult to overtake. You would have track position, but he's just gonna lose everything after the safety car goes into the pit lane, because those hard tires are definitely not drivable. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see his pace with those tires. Yes, he was sliding. That's why I'm saying that hards are definitely not for this track, as Sector 1 is very dependent on how much throttle you use. Like, you can really easily slide over the entire Sector 1 and just crash into the wall. It's seriously easy to do it. And with hard tires, it's even worse to maintain that. And he's so close to the safety car, he's literally gonna hit it. He needs to be a bit more careful and a bit more cautious to not get a penalty or a disqualification, because I think if you hit the safety car, you will get disqualified, and if you overtake it as well. But let's see, as things stand, we still have only 2 people with penalties, Good Roman and Diego still. And yes, let's check the race director a little bit. The incidents, we actually do not have a lot, just like in France, but France is literally a track extend fest. Like, that race in France cannot go without having a 2-minute sliding session of just track extending penalties. Because it's just unbelievable. Eduardo, the only guy to stop 3 times in today's race, and the safety car is in this lap, and it actually said it way earlier than before. I don't know why it took so long to say it on the first safety car, but I'm not gonna complain. This is actually really good for Lucas, as he has more time to pull away from the safety car and get a really good exit. And looks like we are underway. Lucas is... or we are not. I thought that we were underway, because he was going full throttle. And there we go, we are underway. Lucas McGinty sliding all over the track. Let's see if everyone will take it away cleanly. We have 3 wide nearly with a Mercedes, with the double Mercedes and HD Storm. Emam actually gets a penalty, and we do have side by side with Diego's and God's. This will not end well. And like I said, there was contact. This did not end well. Diego's is backwards. That is very unfortunate indeed, but looks like everything else is good. And Sabitas actually goes around the outside of HD Storm. That was actually a really impressive move. Jesus Christ, very, very impressive. Very impressive indeed. But looks like everything else is okay. The only crash was with Diego's, very unfortunate, and he's even on hards, so he cannot even gain that time back. And looks like Lucas McGinty is already pulling the gap to Zubrzaken, and we do have Gods and Ernest side by side. And looks like Ernest is just not fighting it. He's just letting Gods through. He knows to not battle him, as he is on 5-lap all hards. Gods definitely has the tire advantage. And Alexander does the same thing, and I think Eduardo will just follow him as well. Ernest not fighting any of this. And we will probably see some team orders between the Mercedes boys. They will probably let each other through, as Eduardo is on softs. He will want to use the softs as much as he can, but he cannot wear them out too much, because they will not make it until the end of the race if he does so. Ernest gets a 3-second time penalty, and HD Storm is already in the pit lane, and Diego's will probably follow him right behind, and he actually does not. So looks like that collision didn't award him damage, so that's very good indeed. Gods, the has just in front of Alexander, got a 3-second time penalty, which is very unfortunate indeed, and Alexander really gained a lot of time on him. So we might see an overtake on the next straight. DRS is not enabled just yet. If there's a safety car, you have to wait 3 more laps to enable it. If there's a virtual safety car, the DRS is enabled all the time after the safety car. And looks like these people, Gods included, are actually catching the guys in front of them very fast, and we already have a spin. A McLaren of MIM has spun, which is very unfortunate indeed. And looks like Alexander might have the straight line advantage, as he's a bit faster than Gods. He's using all of his ERS to try and make a move. Gods defending the inside line, and Alexander can do nothing. And then Eduardo tries to go around the inside of his teammate. They will go side by side. I think that Alexander needs to let his teammate through, because he is on softs. If they do continue to battle like this will not be good for both of them. But DRS is enabled this lap, and like I said, these guys are extending the, closing the gap to the 3 ahead. And Superzaken and Good Roman are actually having a pretty good battle as well for P2 in today's race. Good Roman at a disadvantage because of the penalty. Looks like Superzaken does not have a lot of ERS available. McGinty actually makes a mistake, so this might be an overtake for first place if Superzaken get close enough. And looks like Good Roman actually made a mistake as well, so he will have to wait a little bit more for the next DRS rate. He loses a little bit of the back end and nearly slides. Ernest actually spins, and loses one track position to Patrick. Very unfortunate indeed. But this might be a 6-way battle for pole position or for the win. If this will be possible, this will be so freaking fun. Like I said, DRS is enabled this lap, so we might see a few overtakes happening on this straight. Let's see. Super Zaken going on McGinty defending the inside line, but Super Zaken going for it anyway, and he manages to get it a little bit more. They do make contact. Super Zaken will have the DRS. McGinty going on the inside line again and squeezing Super Zaken, and there is contact with the Alfa Romeo driver and the Ferrari driver. And there's another safety car. What happened there? Jesus Christ, what is this? Oh my god. What just happened? Oh my god. I literally did not expect that. Good Roman has no front wing, we have another retirement, we actually have another retirement from Super Zaken and Sabotage. What just happened? So, what I think happened is McGinty was squeezing Super Zaken way too much on the outside line, and Good Roman didn't really expect that, and McGinty didn't know that Good Roman was like 3-way, like side by side with both Super Zaken and Good Roman, so he just squeezed Super Zaken because he knew that he was side by side, and Good Roman just, I think, went for a move that wasn't there and made Super Zaken spin and retire from the race. It's a really big shame that I didn't catch that from the bird perspective, only from the first person view. But Lucas McGinty is in the pit lane, Good Roman as well, Patrick as well, Ernest as well. I'm actually surprised why Alexander and Gods are not in the pit lane, which this would be very beneficial for all of these guys. Because these guys that went into the pit lane now have fresh softs, so they will have much better pace in this final stage. Of the race. So I seriously do not know what these guys are doing. This is basically a free pit stop for both Gods and Alexander. And because everyone else went into the pit lane, they would not lose almost any track position, so I really do not know what they are doing. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But Gods and Alexander are at a very big disadvantage, Diego's as well, who is on 9-lap pole hard. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens in these last 8 laps of the race. A lot of people going for 3 stops. The only guy on a 1 stop is Diego's, and HD Storm does a 4 stop, so he's definitely not having a really good race today. Very unfortunate indeed. The most positions gained is by Diego's currently, moving 7 positions from P13, so nearly last place on the grid. Thank you, Joan Santos, for the follow. I hope that you enjoy today's commentary and the race. We currently are on lap 17 of 25, we have 8 laps remaining, so we still have a lot of action happening. This is our 3rd safety car. I think we only get 1 more safety car, and that's going to be it. No more safety cars in the race. We might see some virtuals, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Safety car is in this lap. That's actually pretty early, but thank God I don't have to improvise about what I want to say. Eduardo gets a 5-second time penalty with contact with McGinty. Oh, that's very unfortunate. And we are underway for another safety car restart. Looks like we might have 3 wide with the Mercedes boys and McGinty. And Eduardo goes on the inside line and just overtakes his teammate. And looks like McGinty wanted to try and make that move as well, but Patrick just overtakes everyone and goes P3. So this is a really good podium place. If he can keep close to these 2 guys in front of him, he might win because of penalties. So let's see what he can do. We do have a yellow flag behind. I don't know what's happening. We might have a crash or something, but I do not know. Eduardo is pressuring the Haas driver just ahead of him, Gods, and Gods got a really bad exit off of that corner, turn 14, and looks like Eduardo will, and he will go side by side, and Eduardo backs out of it. But God gets a really bad line again, leaving the outside line open for Gods, for Eduardo, and Eduardo overtakes him for P1 in today's race, but now he has to pull away 5 seconds if he wants to win on track. I don't know if you can remove those penalties, those 5-second time penalties, but if he can remove those, then the win is definitely going to be on his hands. We do have Lucas McGinty and Alexander going side by side into turn 27, but nothing happened. Patrick and Gods as well doing that. McGinty doesn't have any ERS to deploy anymore, but Alexander defending the inside line, and he is going on the outside line, and looks like Eduardo and Gods are actually fighting for P1 as well. Gods goes on the inside, they are going side by side still into turn 5, I think that is, and Gods just has to stay behind a bit patiently, and Patrick actually crashes somehow. What is happening in today's race? Like, I'm at a loss for words. That is very unfortunate for Patrick, who is looking very good for position in today's race, but I guess you cannot do anything about it. And that's actually good for Eduardo. He's already 1 second ahead of Gods, so he just needs to pull away and get 5 seconds. He is out of the DRS range, but Gods is using his ERS to try and get that gap closer. So he gets DRS, which I think is enabled next lap. And Eduardo actually not gaining that much time on Gods. And McGinty actually, I think, has a really good chance to overtake Gods in this final corner, or maybe the first chicane. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Alexander losing a lot of time to the cars ahead of him, which was predictable. Like I said, he didn't capitalize on a free pit stop, and Gods and McGinty going side by side into the first chicane. Let's see if this will be taken cleanly. McGinty around the outside and overtakes him for P2. Goes a little bit too wide on the exit, but still manages to stay P2. If he stays within this gap, within the 1.5 seconds or within the 5 seconds of Eduardo, he will win today's race, but he is losing a lot of time in the first sector, so that is quite unfortunate indeed. Alexander gets a 3-second time penalty added to his time for exceeding track limits. Very unfortunate for the Mercedes driver. Let's actually check the penalties. How many do people have? So McGinty, HD Storm and Patrick are the only ones that don't have a penalty. Very good for them. They will get a lot of positions if it can stay that way. And Eduardo, the only guy with 5 seconds. I seriously do not know if you can remove those, but you probably cannot. From my league experience, they do not remove your 5 seconds, and I seriously do not know why. But I don't know how they do it here. But it's very interesting how McGinty is not gaining any time on Eduardo, who has 6 lap older softs, which is actually his disadvantage, as he's not pulling away. He did set a fastest lap time of a 1:30.4. He will get another extra point. If you didn't know, if you put the fastest lap of the race, you get an extra point added to your points. but only if you're in the top 10 and you finish the race. Thank you so Soprezaken for the follow. I hope that you enjoy today's commentary and the race. And we are currently on lap 21 of 25, and 4 laps remaining. We do have a 4-way battle for P2 currently. Eduardo just being a little bit cautious right in front, not pushing too much, but he cannot push too much because he has older tires, which is really bad for him because of that 5-second time penalty. But this fight is still really big for the podium place. MIM, Alexander and Gods fighting for the final podium spot. MIM might be at the back right now, as he did lose his car a little bit on the exit curb on turn 17, I think that is, so he's a little bit far behind. So Alexander and Gods might be fighting here, but Gods has DRS just like Alexander. And he actually gains a lot of time in the final corner of turn 27, so let's see what he can do. Gods is actually not using DRS at all, and Alexander actually puts the fastest time of the session with 10 lap older mediums, and goes around the inside of Gods and overtakes him for the podium place. If he can manage to stay ahead of him, this will be a podium for Alexander, and probably a double podium for the Mercedes boys, a 2-3. Because McGinty will probably win today's race if he does not crash. So let's hope that he keeps it clean, and maybe Eduardo can pull a miracle and pull away 4 seconds more. But I guess time will only tell. Lap 22, 3 laps remaining. And this fight is still continuing as MAM actually spins in turn 14. Very, very unfortunate. Like I said, it's a really easy corner to spin. I always get it wrong. That's why I go very, very cautiously, and I lose a little bit of time on that part of the track. Alexander is very close to McGinty. Looks like McGinty is not pushing at all as well. And if Alexander can overtake McGinty, maybe he can slow down McGinty, so Eduardo gets that 5-second gap. So Eduardo can win the race, but I don't know what team strategies are for the Mercedes boys, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. McGinty defending the inside line, but does not defend at all as hard as with Super Zaken, which cost him the DNF and just lets him through. And now this is the main point of today's race. What will happen? Who will be on the podium? What is going to be the final places of the race? Lucas McGinty losing the car a lot in Sector 1. Looks like he's not very comfortable, and he might lose a lot of time. If he gets a penalty in these final few laps, he will lose the win. But if he backs away 3 seconds from Alexander, I think Alexander will win the race. And seeing that Lucas McGinty is actually sliding all over the place, that might happen. That might actually happen, and I think Eduardo is actually slowing down for his teammate, so his teammate gets DRS and tries to win the race. Is Eduardo playing the team game, trying to slow down for his teammate and wanting him to win the race because he knows that he doesn't have any chance of winning? So if Eduardo allows Alexander to overtake him and slows down McGinty, Alexander might win the race. And that might happen, as Eduardo didn't get a really good exit, and I think that Alexander is gonna try and make a move into turn 1, but he's a bit too far behind. I don't know what happened. A new fastest lap, a 1:30.2 from Alexander, and they are not pulling away from McGinty. McGinty is still staying close to them. If it stays like this, McGinty wins the race. So Mercedes guys need to do something if they do want to secure this win, which is probably not possible. But one thing is for sure, this will be a podium for at least one driver, probably Alexander, if he can pull away 7 tenths more, because if he does not, he will be behind Gods. and Eduardo will probably be P4 after the race, if only he can extend a little bit more time. But this is all happening in the final stages of the race. I'm gonna put it at leader, and I'm gonna put it at penalties. So we see here. So Gods actually has a penalty. So this might be a double podium for the Mercedes boys, but this will not be a win. HD Storm gets a penalty. A lot of penalties are actually handed into this race, which is very unfortunate. McGinty staying very close to these guys, and he actually gets a really good exit. He might be able to overtake him into turn 1. This might be a 3 wide into turn 1. Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh, Alexander actually overtakes, and Eduardo tries to defend. McGinty actually overtakes Eduardo for P2, but they will go side by side and they nearly make contact. And Eduardo actually has to back out of that. And McGinty is P2 at the moment. So McGinty will win the race if he can just keep it clean. Eduardo really made that mistake of not pitting during the safety car, and Alexander as well. They seriously needed to pit if they wanted to win, because they do have the pace, but they do not have the consistency because of the worn tires that they have. And McGinty just staying close to them, trying to capitalize on their mistakes that they made. And Eduardo actually gets another penalty, so this will not be a double podium for Mercedes. That is very unfortunate indeed. Lucas McGinty and Eduardo both don't have ERS, but maybe something can happen here. McGinty is lagging all over the place. This will be the final move on the final lap. Maybe McGinty and Eduardo will do something. McGinty defending the inside line. Eduardo goes around the outside. And McGinty just stays behind. And I think that's actually a 3. Or actually, it's not. That's because of the leader. And Alexander wins on track. Another fastest lap of the race, but he finishes P2. Lucas McGinty wins today's race. And Götz gets that final podium position. Jesus Christ, my voice is dead. You can see, or you can hear, because I'm just saying high notes like, whoa. It's not good. But Jesus Christ, that fight until the end of the race was incredible. Some of the best fighting I've ever seen. This was seriously well played for all of these drivers. And HD Storm gets P5 in today's race. Patrick P6 managed to get something from his spin in the beginning stages of the race. MIM actually steals that fastest lap, a 129.6. He will get another extra point added to his 6 points, so 7 points in total. And we are just waiting for these guys who are actually battling for P8. Ernest and Diegos. There was nearly contact made. Thankfully no damage was implied, and Good Roman might actually get close. He will actually be P9 because Diegos has more penalties than him. And that's it. That's it. That was the race. And HD Storm is the game's driver of the day. I don't know. I think Lucas did a really good job today. Lucas, I think, deserves that win, and you can see that he's so happy to be on that top step of the podium, and he's lifting that trophy so high. He's seriously happy. Like, good job from him. Good job from him. I think he started like P5 or P6, and he managed to win. Like, incredible. Congratulations, Lucas, on the win, and congratulations to both Alexander and Gods on the 2 places on the podium. Next up, we have Eduardo, the second Mercedes driver, in P4, HD Storm in P5, Patrick in P6, MIM in P7, Ernest in P8, Good Roman in P9, Diegos in P10, Sabotage in P11, Superzaken in P12, Nemo in P13, and Jay in P14. I'm gonna show the race director if anyone wants to remove penalties, just so they have it on stream so they can use it. And there we go. Jesus Christ, that race was freaking intense. Oh my god. And Good Roman actually steals the fastest lap of the race, so he will get 1 more point, and that's 3 points in total. I think Mercedes are leading the constructors at the moment, because they got P2 and P4 in today's race. That is 28 points. And McGinty only got 25. So Mercedes currently leading the constructors, but McGinty is leading the drivers. Good, seriously good job from him. Incredible race today. We had so many great battles, and it was very enjoyable to watch. And very unfortunate for the guys that have retired from the session. They couldn't show their full potential, but there is always next time to capitalize on your own mistakes and be even better. But anyways, that was the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Nitrous Racing League. I hope that you have enjoyed today's race and today's commentary. I would like to thank our sponsors. I forgot the name, I'm sorry. I would like to thank our sponsors, Interrodata. I still don't know what they do. I'm sorry. Just like last time, I'm not prepared. So, anyways, thank you for sponsoring us, and yeah, I seriously do hope that you have enjoyed today's commentary and the race. It has been my pleasure commentating today, and it's been incredible to see so many people watching today. Like, we had 23 viewers, which is incredible. Thank you so much for today, and I hope to see you all next time, next Thursday, for another race, which will actually be, let me see, actually, where's the calendar? Next race is in Mexico. That is actually a pretty good track. I really like that track. So I hope to see you there next Thursday, and have a good night or have a good day, and stay safe out there, please.